Hey, it's Jeff Zito. Thanks again for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast, streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcast. Please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating, and please leave a review. Past guests and episodes online at celebrityjobber.com. And you can also follow on Instagram, celebrity_jobber_podcast, or the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/the@celebrityjobber. Also, at Celebrity Jobber on Substack. So subscribe to Substack for some bonus content and a lot of other stuff. What would happen to these people if they didn't get their big break, if they weren't famous? What would they be doing? And what was life, and, what was life like before fame for some of these people? Most just held regular jobs and were regular people. We're about to hear a really incredible story. This guy is 80 years old, and man, he can tell a story, and he's got a lot to tell. As you know, the Guess Who is back on tour, and I'm talking about the real band, Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings, back together on tour right now. TheGuessWho.com for tour dates near you. Going to talk about the beginning from when Randy was a little kid. I mean, all the way back to like 3 years old. That's where this story starts, believe it or not. It's pretty huge to get a record deal and get a hit song with one band, let alone two. So it happened 2 times with Randy Bachman, first with the Guess Who and then with Bachman Turner Overdrive, BTO. And what about jobs outside of music? What was Randy's first job, or if he had several different jobs? We're about ready to hear the whole story. From the Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive, the one and only Randy Bachman is my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Hey, Randy, how's it going?
Great.
It's funny, I have a term I usually call rock and roll time, and that's, usually 15 minutes late. But here you are, proving that theory wrong 2 minutes early. Pretty incredible.
I'll sign off and come back in 15. I won't disappoint you.
Definitely not disappointed. Been waiting to speak with you for a long time, and I do want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me. Is it true us Americans have been mispronouncing your name for over 50 years?
Yes, but you've been mispronouncing everything for 50 years. You heard the song, you say tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
Right.
Datsun, Dotson, Bachman, Bachman.
Okay, so you just responded to Bachman, no big deal. You didn't correct anybody. You didn't want to make us feel bad. Is that what it was?
Here's what I say. This is Randy Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive.
That's great, man. Tell me, what was it back in the good old days when you were a young boy growing up in Canada? What made you want to get into rock and roll? What was it?
Well, I grew up as a classical kid. I started classical violin when I was 5. And it was Royal Conservatories. You got to play Chopin and Tchaikovsky and all this stuff. And it was pretty good. And I turned like 14. And it's a very boring life because it's all classical, and the world is changing. And I auditioned for a symphony orchestra, the Winnipeg Junior Symphony School Orchestra, and realized I wasn't as good as the classical people there, and I wanted to break out. And so I quit. And the next day after I quit, I went home and said to my mother, I'm not playing violin anymore, I'm quitting. She said, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea. The next day I saw Elvis Presley on TV, and I said, what is that? Because TV was brand new back then. This is like the mid-50s in Winnipeg. Well, that's called rock and roll. That's called the guitar, and that's called Elvis Presley. I said, that's insane. Everybody's screaming at the guy. What's going on? He said, well, that's what rock and roll. You do whatever you want. You can dance and shake and scream and yell. I said, well, I want to do that. My cousins had a guitar. So I said, how do you play this? They showed me 3 things on the guitar. I picked it up and played it. And they said, how can you play this? So easy. I said, well, on a violin, all you play is melody. I've been playing melody since I was 5. I'm now 15, so for 10 years. So I can play lead on this guitar. It's just like a violin. They said, oh, you're a lead guitar player. I started a band. It was Chad Allen and the Reflections. We became the Guess Who. Here I am.
Wow. Unbelievable story. And I heard there was a chance meeting with the legendary Les Paul where you tried to actually buy a ticket to go into a show, but you were too young.
Well, this is on the other side of Winnipeg. It was at a supper club, a nightclub. I didn't realize it, and I didn't tell my parents I was going. You can't, or else they won't let you go, right? You're 15.
Right.
Les Paul and Mary Ford had 3 songs in the top 10, Vaya con Dios, and a couple others, How High the Moon and stuff like that. And so I get on the bus, I go to the other side of Winnipeg, which is 3 bus transfers across town. And I go to the club, and it's like 5:30 at night. And I say to the guy, I've come to see the Les Paul. And he says, you can't get in. It's a supper club. We serve alcohol here. Unless you have an adult with you and book a table, you can't get in. I said, you're kidding. So I'm sitting out front, kind of disheveled, sitting at the bus stop, and a black Cadillac pulls up, and the window rolls down. I'm sitting there holding a Les Paul and Mary Ford album. The window rolls down. It says, hi, kid.
Wow.
And I look at Les Paul. He says, what are you doing? I thought I came to see your show, but I can't get in. He said, I'll get you in. Carry my guitar. We go in the back of the supper club. He said, you can't go out there. They won't let you go, but you can stay here in the kitchen. And so they had big swinging doors on the kitchen where waiters are going through with trays with food on. And the swinging doors had big round windows so they wouldn't smash into each other and knock the trays out of each other's hand. And beside me backstage was 5 Ampex tape recorders, all stacked up that all his music was on. And he controlled them all with a controller on his guitar. He called it the Les Pulverizer. And he had this pulverizer switch that would start the tape recorders. And he would go explain to the audience, here's how I play rhythm. And he would play that. Here's how I play the lead. Here's how Mary Ford sang. Mary Ford, they walked around to each table and serenaded each table like you would do with a mariachi band.
Right.
And it was amazing.
Wow.
And when the whole thing was done, and I'm beside his tape recorder, but all I see is rear end, and he's wearing a tuxedo, and Mary Ford's wearing like a white prom dress, big frilly dress. And their son, Gene, is playing drums. He's keeping rhythm going. And so I see the whole show that way. When it's all done, he comes back, he says, hold this kid, and he hands me his guitar, and he wipes his brow, and he goes out and he does his encore. And that was that.
Unbelievable. And then I hear years later, you run into him again.
I'm with BTO. I'm opening for Van Halen, and we're in New Jersey, outside of New York, at the Nassau Coliseum. And Les Paul comes in to say hi to Eddie. And he comes up to me, and Sammy Hagar's in the band at that time. Les Paul comes up to me and he says, do I know you? And I said, Rancho Don Carlos, Winnipeg. He goes, oh, kid, do you remember that lick? And I said, yeah. He showed me the lick and How High the Moon. He said, I'm playing at the Iridium Club tomorrow night. Come on down. So I go down to the Iridium Club. He calls me up on stage. We play How High the Moon. He says to me, let's do one of yours, kid. I go, what? He says, yeah, don't you understand? I said, yeah, I play Taking Care of Business. And Les Paul played guitar with me. And then a few years later, I go to Neil Young's birthday in L.A. at the Troubadour. And Neil comes up to me and says, you know that story you tell about Les Paul? And I go, yeah. And he says, you don't realize I was at that show. And I said, really? He said, yeah, but my mother booked a table. She ordered dinner. I sat at the front table. I saw Les Paul's fingers play. You saw his rear end as he was walking around.
Unbelievable. What were your parents musical, Randy?
No, but they did everything to get the kids out of the ghetto. So I had violin lessons. My brother had accordion lessons. My other brother had drum lessons. And we became the heart of Bachman Turner Overdrive. When we added up my buddy Fred Turner after the Guess Who, I went and started a band with my brothers. We became the 3 Bachmans and the Turner, and my brothers have now passed away. I'm the last surviving guy, and I continue on as BTO.
Celebrity Jobber. The Celebrity Jobber podcast with Jeff Zito.
So you won a singing contest at 3 years old. By 5 years old, you started playing classical violin. And I asked you if your parents were musical people. You said no, but they did all they could to get the kids out of the ghetto. What did you mean by that, number one? And number two, what did your parents do for work?
My mother was a mother. She had 4 sons. Believe me,
it's a big job.
4 boys is a big job. And, it's an anthill. And my dad was an optician, eyeglass guy. Because my parents were not well off, we did live in a ghetto. It was a Ukrainian, Polish, Jewish kind of ghetto where all the poor people lived on the other side of the train tracks, whereas Winnipeg and the downtown with the I don't know, the more British or the more upper class. You needed a way out. I was either playing hockey, stopping pucks or shooting pucks. shooting hoops, hitting home runs, playing an instrument, being an actor, being an athlete, excelling at something to get you out of there, or else you're going to stay there and marry your high school sweetheart and have 4 kids and go to the same game and the same old. For some people, that's really good. Sometimes I long for that. There's a nice thing about the comfort zone of that. And then part of me wants to join the rock and roll circus and go around the world, which is what I did.
So what kind of music were your parents into?
The music they would play and they would go and see that would come to Winnipeg would be the Benny Goodman Orchestra, Tony Bennett, Barbra Streisand, when they were teenagers, when they were 20 or something, whatever. But they'd always play this music in the house on 78s, and they always had a great guitar solo, like Charlie Christian or something is playing the guitar solo in Grand Slam. And I learned that right off the bat. I didn't know who it was. It doesn't say who it is on his 78. And I would just kind of get that in my head.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happens.
So if I was to say school really wasn't your thing, would that be accurate?
Well, it was my thing until about grades through 8 or 9. I was an A student, A+ student. I did everything perfect. I mean, literally everything. I'm playing violin. Because my parents had to scrape up the money for my lesson, which was like $2 a week. This was like big money for them. My dad was making $50 a week then. So for me to take that money and get a lesson, I literally had to practice every morning, half an hour violin, 7:30 in the morning before school. And when I came home after school at 4, before I could change it to my play jeans, because then you had good jeans you wore to school and play jeans you wore at home.
Yeah.
I had to practice another half an hour. So I practiced an hour a day violin at the age of 5, and it becomes a part of your routine. It becomes music. Music is mathematical, it's physical, it's brain to fingers, coordination, everything like that. And on a violin, what do you play? Lead. It's a lead instrument. It's like a flute, like a piccolo. You're playing the lead. I get invited to join or audition for the Winnipeg Junior Symphony. 85 kids are auditioning. This is on the other side of Winnipeg, the uppity side where Neil Young lived. It's at his high school, Crescent High, or Calvin High, that was it. And I go there. Now I'm 14. I've been playing for 9 years. We're playing a piece, auditioning. As we get into the piece, it's a Mozart piece. I'm auditioning for second violin, which is a big deal, because first violin takes over when the conductor's not there, and the second then leads to everything else. And it gets to a certain part of the song, and there's tap, 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 and everybody stops playing. The conductor says, bar 32, second violin, it's an E flat. Let's take it from the top. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what bar 32 is. I don't know what an E flat is.
Lost.
I had a teacher that she would put a sheet of music in front of me, Chopin or something, or Mary Had a Little Lamb or whatever. She'd play it first. And she'd say, okay, now your turn. And I would play it because I had heard it in my head. So I learned to play by ear. So now when I'm trying to play with the symphony, junior symphony, and he says, let's take it from the top. And we go to the top, we go to bar 32 again, which I now I know where it is. I didn't know there was 8 bars, 8 bars, 8 bars. I didn't know what he meant.
Right. And
we get to it again, I play the same note. And he says, stop. Second violin, can you play an E? Yes. It's an open string on the violin. Can you play an E flat? I'm stumped. How can you go any lower than an open string? Mathematically, I don't realize that on the string before that, you go da, 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 and you go up the next string. At that moment, I don't do it. I say, no. So there's 80 kids laughing at me. I pack up my violin. I'm in tears. I got a little 6-cent bus ticket. I go home the other side of Winnipeg. It takes me an hour to get home on the bus. I go in the house. It's now noon on Saturday. My mother says, well, that's it. Are you in the symphony? I go, no, I'm never playing again. She said, what do you mean? I thought, I can't play violin. She says, you can. Well, I can't play with the other kids. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm never going to play it again. They were all laughing at me. So she figures I'll get over it. I say, I'm never touching it again. The next day, her sister comes over. Her sister's 10 years younger than her. She's my cool hip aunt who's maybe 18 or 19. And they together watch Elvis on television. We have a little black and white TV. They're watching this little thing, and they're screaming in our living room. My father's going, oh, that's disgusting. I'm going, what is that? Why is the screen blacked out? Well, he's shaking his hips. What does that mean? I'm a violin player. You stand a certain way, and you play what's on the page. And they go, well, that's called rock and roll. That's called Elvis Presley, and that's called a guitar. And I go, I want to do that. It's wild. I want to go wild. Because classical violin, when you're adjudicated a couple of times a year, and it's Royal Conservatory, you have to stand a certain way. You can't rest your elbow like the country guys, the Cajun guy. You have to stand a certain way. It's all upstroke and downstroke. You got to play everything perfectly. And I wanted to do something wild.
So is that when you made the move to guitar?
I had two cousins chipped in to get a guitar. So one of them would use it Saturday from noon to noon, and then the other one would use it Saturday from noon to noon. So they took turns. They were both going away fishing. And I said, can I borrow your guitar? I wanted to play guitar. I just saw Elvis on TV. I wanted to learn to play that. And they go, oh, yeah, sure. So they loaned me their guitar, which I still have on the wall to this day. They go away for the weekend. I listen to the radio. I could play whatever's on the radio at the time, which is 16 Tons, Tennessee Ernie Ford. I Walk the Line, Johnny Cash, Hound Dog. There's a beginning of rock and roll and rockabilly, Carl Perkins doing Blue Suede Shoes and stuff like that. They come home after 2 days and they say, well, okay, what have you learned? And I start to play everything. They go, what? How did you figure this out? What are you playing? I say, I don't know what I'm playing. I find a note. I hear it in my head. I find it. I play it. And they go, well, that's pretty amazing. Can you play a chord? And I say, well, what's a chord? There's a bunch of notes that are in harmony. So yeah, I can go da, 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 da. I can play, yeah. I started to play lead guitar, like out of the blue. Then you learn the chords to back up what you're playing.
Right.
Then I heard from my brother that the best band in town in Winnipeg, the top teenage band who played all the high school dances. And in Winnipeg at the time, this is like the early 60s, all the way through the 60s, the drinking age was 21. So nobody went to nightclubs. Everybody went to a high school dance. When there was a high school dance, there was not 150 kids there. There was 450 kids. Everybody who was 20 or 21 who couldn't go to the clubs came to the high school dances. So we had kids from 14 to about like 24, all there dancing together. And if you couldn't dance, a bigger chick would take you and teach you. You stand here and do this and I'll twirl around. You'll look cool. And then you slow dance with them. You get them to bear hug. You waltz around the floor. But that was the scene there. So all these bands were playing. And I heard the top band in town, Ellen and the Silvertones, who changed their name to Chad Allen and the Reflections, needed a guitar player. And my brother was working with Jim Carrey, who was the bass player in the band. He said, you want to go and audition for this band? I said, yeah. He said, learn this. They gave me an EP, which is, a 4-song, 45, with 4 songs by The Shadows. And it was Man of Mystery, Kon-Tiki, and 4 instrumentals. And I'm learning the rhythm. And I go to my first rehearsal with them. The lead guitar player is playing the lead. He breaks a string, and I finish playing the lead. And they go, what? You can play this? Yeah, I can play all the lead. I can play all the rhythm and all the lead. Would you want to be the new lead guitar player? I said, okay, great. That's why I came. I play a lead instrument.
Right.
And then we got the song Shakin' All Over from Johnny Kidd and the Pirates in England, which was number one in 1961 in England. We're in 1963, 64 in Winnipeg. And Shakin' All Over was a heavy riff, guitar riff and bass, real heavy, which inspired John Paul Jones and John Deacon and all the other guys, and John Entwistle, all the other guys who became bass players were inspired in England by Shakin' All Over. So we record this song with one microphone. And we send it into a record label in Toronto, Quality Records. And they say, we love this song. It sounds very British, but you can't use the name Reflections. A band called a song just like Romeo and Juliet was out by the Reflections. We want to release this. It sounds very British. And there was the mystery at the time that Joe Meek had recorded Telstar in his building, in the hallway with this thing. And it was the number one instrumental around the world. And that Joe Meek had recorded this at a party with guys from the Stones and the Beatles and the Fentones and everybody all playing together at his party. And they couldn't put their name on the record. Right. Because there were different bands with the Stones with other labels. So Quality Records wanted to put it out and just put out a white label that said Shakin' All Over and Guess Who, because we couldn't use the name Reflections. We couldn't find a name.
Wow.
I said, meanwhile, find a name. Okay, we're just going to put Guess Who on that. And as people are writing in that you might, because to try to find a new name for a band then in the 60s was really, really tough. Every butterfly and every bird was taken up by the doo-wop, the Orioles, the Sparrows, the Ravens, do you know what I mean? On and on. And then the girls' name, the Shirelle, the Crystal, the Ronette, they were all used by their names. We couldn't find a name. So they put out 50 CDs, 50 45s to 50 radio stations with Guess Who on it and Shakin' All Over. That's it.
Wow.
It goes to number one. Everybody's phoning in the radio station. Oh, I heard from my cousin it's Brian Jones on guitar. I heard it's George Harrison playing bass for the first time. And it becomes this urban myth that who are the Guess Who? And we're phoning radio stations going, it's me, it's us, it's Randy Bachman. And no, it's not. It's Brian Jones playing lead guitar.
Wow. I didn't know that.
That goes to number one in Canada. It gets leased by Scepter Records in New York City. Scepter Records is owned by Florence Greenberg. Her partner is Paul Cantor. They're really tight, Jewish, smart people. They're in the music business there. They're a block from the Brill Building. They have Scepter Records and Scepter Studios. On Scepter Records is the Kingsmen, Louie, Dionne Warwick, Chuck Jackson, Maxine Brown. The songwriters are Ashford and Simpson, Bacharach and David. They're pitching songs to Dionne Warwick all day long. We're there hanging out, recording our album. So we have this mentorship by Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson and Burt Backer, and how these guys are wearing penny loafers. They're just out of Juilliard.
Right.
They're wearing t-shirts and penny loafers with real pennies in the loafers,
right,
and all that stuff. And they're there playing Message to Michael and everything for Dionne Warwick, and we're hearing all this stuff. It's really, really inspiring. We got asked to do the Kingsmen Louie Tour 1965. We've got Shakin' All Over. We've got one hit song, but we are a radio band. Most bands, when you're starting, you play what's on the radio. You copy what's on the radio.
Right.
So we got asked by Florence Greenberg, who wrote Soldier Boy and managed the Shirelles. Could I back the Shirelles? Could we back the Crystals? Could we back the Ronettes? The 3 or 4 chicks who sing their demos with a studio band, and when they get it on the radio, there's no band. There's just the 3 girls.
Right.
So can we play the Do Run Run? Can we play He's a Rebel? Of course we can. We sound like the record. So we went out as the Guess Who. We would open the show with Shakin' All Over, back the Crystal, the Ronettes. They'd sing their hits. And then we'd close it with Shakin' All Over like 40 minutes later.
Oh, wow.
We got to meet and tour. And for us being from Winnipeg, and we're all white, and we're all either Ukrainian, Polish, or Jewish.
Right.
And a black person is a hero to us. It's like Joe Louis, the boxer, the champion of the world. He's black. Ray Charles, he's black.
Right.
B.B. King, the black guys are like superheroes. So us backing the black chicks was a thrill. It was phenomenal. Except it's now the mid-'60s, and everywhere we go, there's a race riot.
Okay.
If a black guy dances with a black chick and gets in a fight, we're told if a fight starts, never stop playing that song. Play that song forever till the police come in. Because if you stop playing, they're going to notice there's a skirmish, and the whole place would be in a mad fight, black against white, whatever.
Right.
So we're touring with the Shirelles, like I said, the pop staples, the staple singers.
Okay.
We're touring with the staple singers. We're both in 2 station wagons. We pull in to get gasoline or thing, and the guy comes up with a shotgun and shoots it in the air, and he goes, "You can come in here. You can't." He points at our car, and they can't. So we say, "What do you want?" We go and bring them hamburgers out from a Howard Johnson's or something. For us, this was amazing. And then you play New York, Chicago, Minneapolis. There's race riots in your dance, and you got to keep playing the song until the police come in and break it up. We went through that whole thing. It was quite an amazing thing. But on the tour with the Kingsmen, Dionne and the Belmonts, I mean, the greatest doo-wop band. I mean, Hurt with the Hurt, da-da-da-da, all his big Run Around Sue, that was it. Were all the big hits at the time. And the Kingsmen, Louie and Jolly Green Giant, everywhere. This is a rock and roll summer.
Right.
We come home after that summer. The lead singer, Chad Allen, wants to quit the band. Nobody knows who he is. We're called Guess Who. That was the time of the Abbott and Costello. Who's on first? Who's on first? What's on second? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but who's on first? Yeah, you're right. No, what's that whole thing? And every time they say, "Who are you?" Then the Who started up shortly after that. And then the Wonder Who came out with Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. And then Question Mark and the Mysterians. There was all these Abbott and Costello jokes going on.
Oh, I bet.
So our lead singer said, "I'm leaving. I'm going back to school." He went back to University of Manitoba. When we left town that summer, the next band taking our place, fighting to take our place, was Neil Young and the Squires, Burton Cummings and the Devrons, Fred Turner and the Rockin' Devils. I still see those guys today. I was at Neil's birthday party in November. I still see Fred Turner. I'm touring with Burton Cummings at the Guess Who.
Right.
The 4 of us guys that made it out of Winnipeg, out of the ghetto, we got out. And then so I go to my dad and I say, "I want to go see this band called the Devrons. The lead singer is supposed to be really good. He's been playing piano since he was 5. I've been playing instruments since I was 5. I don't want a guy to learning an instrument. I want a guy who knows his instrument, who can just hear a record and play it."
Right.
I said, "His name's Burton Cummings." He goes, "Oh, I went to school with his mother, Rhoda. Let me give her a call." He calls Rhoda Cummings. I go over to, my dad takes me to see Rhoda. And she says, "Okay, I know you're a big brother. You got 3 younger brothers. Burton is 17. He cannot play with you, but I will sign his contract if you will promise to pick him up before a gig or rehearsal and then bring him home after. I don't want him hanging out with all his friends, getting high and getting drunk and all this stuff." So I say, "Okay, I'll be a big brother to him." And Burton joins the band. We start to write together. We take a summer and go to Regina. And at that point, we see Joni Mitchell for the first time. She just married Chuck Mitchell. Her name's Joni Anderson. She marries Chuck Mitchell. We see them play. I meet a woman there who I marry. I go to her house to pick her up for our first date. I sit down, I write the beginning to These Eyes. It's originally called These Arms because I'm waiting for her for our first date. I'm in a room with only a piano and a plant and a couch. There's no radio, no TV. Right. I sit at the piano and I go, boom, boom, da, 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 da. These arms long to hold you. I'm trying to sing to her upstairs, right? She's not ready. We're missing our date. Right. And when I show it to Burton Cummings, he goes, that's a great beginning, but let's make These Arms long to hold you the second line, and let's get a better first line.
Okay. These
eyes cry every night. These arms long to hold you again. Then let's get to the Thomas Wayne thing, which was a song called Tragedy. The Hurtin's on Me, because we're in Winnipeg learning English language, but we're getting stuff from Chicago, New York, and we're getting black language, like The Hurtin's on Me. You never heard that before. Right. To put it in a song like The Hurtin's on Me and I'll Never Be Free, that was like a really big deal for us, so. And every night we listen to WLS and WNOE, which is New Orleans and Chicago, with a little rocket radio with a thing like this, a little earphone you put in your ear. There was no speaker, so you could go to bed, you plug this thing into your wall, go to bed and put it in your ear, and your parents would think you were asleep. You're laying there and listening to WNOE Chicago, and you're hearing blues records. Because at night, Dick Biondi would be playing blues, like Buddy Guy, B.B. King, all this stuff, Howlin' Wolf and everything. You never heard this in Winnipeg. It was like a country rock town, like middle of the wheat field of the plains. So we had a great growing up there, and there was 100 bands in Winnipeg working at that time because of all the high schools and all the bar mitzvahs and all the community centers, and you couldn't get in a nightclub until you were 21.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
So Chad Allen leaves the band, goes back to college. You go to college, majored in business administration. Did you have any clue of what you were going to use that degree for?
I already knew I was a musician. I didn't want a normal job. I hated normal jobs. I had a couple. My dad got me a couple of jobs.
What were they?
Well, he was an optician, a dispensing optician. So they actually would make your glasses. They would carve them in a machine, right, with water and all this stuff. So you'd go and pick a frame. You send them the frame. They take out your things that aren't prescription. They then put them in a machine that traces them. They put them in and you deliver. So I was 14. You get a bus pass. You get on the bus free. You take all the prescriptions to the opticians. They grind the glasses. Then you take it back in a little briefcase to all the doctors, the eye doctors downtown, who then give you your glasses with your new prescription. They polish them up. So I did like 2 runs in the morning, 2 runs in the afternoon of that. I hated it. I made $20 a week. Right. I'd go to a Friday night and make $20 playing a high school. So right. To my dad, the money doesn't make sense here. I'm working my tail off from 7 in the morning till 5 or 6 at night. I go and play a 2-hour dance. I get the same amount of money. This went on for my whole life. Right. But when I wanted a certain guitar, I went and worked. I had a paper route. I mowed lawns of 3 houses of pretty rich people. I get $10 a lawn. I worked at a car wash from 6 in the morning till 6 at night every Saturday for $10, working 12 hours for $10, and then go home and have a shower, go to my gig, and make $20 playing a high school. I made more money playing in the band for less time.
Right.
So I pretty much knew my destiny. I didn't want to get another normal job where your paycheck's $22 after a whole weekend, and they deduct money for unemployment insurance and for something that, that kind of thing. So it didn't make any sense. My dad got me a job selling shoes, Bata shoes, which probably doesn't even exist anymore, BATA shoe store. And because I was the new young guy, and I'm like 14, they gave me the old farm ladies that came in. And we're talking babas, big legs like telephone poles, calluses on their feet, and I'm trying to fit them. Or they'd give me the new hot chick that came in, who sits down, and you're looking at these legs, and they've got a short skirt, and they're putting their feet up, and you've got their feet, and you're putting. So as a guy, man. you normally get an erection, right? And you can't stand up. You're in the shoe store. You can't stand up and go get the other shoes. I mean, it's like unbelievable.
That's great.
I went and started that at 5 o'clock. At 7:30, they gave me a break for 15 minutes. I'm supposed to work till 9. I left at 7:30 and never went back. Wow. I got on a bus with my guitar, went to my gig, played, made $30. Came home that night. My dad said, "What happened? You didn't go back to work?" I said, "I hated it." He said, "Well, here's your paycheck of $12. They took off $3. I said, "Look, Dad, I made $15. I made $20. I'm going to make $20 tomorrow night. I'm making more at the bank." He said, "You win."
Got it. So they were pretty supportive of your musical dream. Yeah.
Well, when you're poor, you can't neglect good, honest money.
Right.
I wasn't selling dope. I wasn't stealing. I was going playing. I was using the music lesson they gave me that they paid for 5 years. I wasn't playing violin, but I'm playing it on guitar.
Right.
We hear my solo in American Woman. It's like I'm playing a viola, a cello. Do, 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 do,
Right.
do, do, like I'm blowing the instrument.
It's interesting. So when you're telling this fantastic story about, join the time you joined the band, all the way until American Woman hits number one back in 1970, was there a moment, like a monumental moment? Because you gave me a lot of them when you told that story. But is there one moment that you can think of between the time you started in the band, the time American Woman hits number one in 1970? Was there a big break, a moment that changed everything for you to where, success was on its way?
Well, I've had a lot of people say to me, what is the path to success? And I say, failure. Failure, 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 keep going, failure, keep going. And then suddenly you don't fail and you're a success. You keep doing it until you get better than the other guy. The other guy who laughed at you or beat you up and you got your little violin, you're going to your violin practice and they call you a sissy. They're the guys who come to your dance later when you're rocking and rolling and they say to their girlfriend, oh, I went to school with him. Yeah, he's my high school buddy. Yeah, you're the guy who used to beat me up, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I remember grade one. I'm 5.5 when I start grade one because of the age difference, and this is up in Winnipeg. And there's 40 kids in each class. There's a lot of kids in each class. So on the first day of school, they do a seating plan. So the teacher will have a sheet of paper in front of her, and it's row 1, desk 2, so she knows your name is Iris Smith, and you're Johnny Jojo. And what's your name? What does your dad do? And what do you want to be when you grow up? My name is Randy Bachman. My dad's an optician. I'm a musician. Yes, but what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm a musician. Yes. What do you want to be when you grow up? I run home. It's the first day of school. My mother's doing the laundry. I lived a block from the school. I go in the house, it's like 10 in the morning. She says, what are you doing home? I just left you at school. I said, I'm quitting. She said, you can't quit school. It's the first day of grade one. I said, I keep answering the question. I keep getting it wrong. She said, what's the question? It's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm saying, I'm a musician. I've been playing violin for like a half a year now. I've been singing. You are my sunshine and beautiful brown eyes. I am a musician. She said, okay. She takes my violin. We go back to school. She says to the teacher, he is a musician. I play Stardust by Chopin or something. The class all applauds. I'm accepted as a musician. I knew my whole life I was going to be a musician. Wow. I didn't like working. I didn't like school, but I was good at school until I discovered guitar. And then I didn't practice an hour a day. I practiced 4 and 5 and 6 hours a day. I would take it to bed and sleep with it. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and play it. I had a record player where I wouldn't even turn on the volume. I'd just hear from the needle. I'd hear Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, all this stuff that I'd get records from Chicago. We'd go on tour. I went to the radio stations. Everything they threw away, they'd give to me. They only played like pop music and a little bit of country. They throw away all the R&B stuff they got. And so, I have this obsession with learning all the music I could learn and to try to be like the moment I saw Elvis on TV. Then that got relived later on the same Ed Sullivan show with the Beatles. They get relived later with the Beach Boys. They get relived over and over. You as a nobody, a truck driver, or a kid from Liverpool, a kid from West Kelowna, Winnipeg, from the North End, you can be an Elvis. You can be a John Lennon. You could be a Brian Wilson. You could be it. These guys have proven it. So you go out and you prove it. And you fail and you fail and you fail. How do you write a hit song? I've been asked that question a million times. It's really easy. You write 100 songs. And if you're lucky enough to get one out of there, guess what? You're a one-hit wonder.
Right.
Then if you have 2, if you have 3, you're an accomplished songwriter. You keep trying and trying. And I also learned this recently. Everything that happens in your life, it doesn't happen to you, because if it does, you're a victim. Right. It happens for you. Changing that one word to that happened for me. Right. I'm going to get over this. I'm going around that guy. I'm going to crush that guy. He said no again. He threw me out. He won't let me go out with his daughter, or he won't let me do this or that. I'm going around this guy. And you go around the obstacle. And so you learn that it happens for you. So you become stronger and your dream becomes more defined in your head, and you get more focused, and screw the world. This is what I'm going to do. So when Chad Allen left the band broke up. I had a meeting. Burton Cummings joined a week later. The Guess Who was resurrected. New lead singer, a punk, 4 years younger than us. When you're 19 and somebody's 14, they're a punk, right? Okay.
Sure.
But I liked his punk attitude. He was like, he could sing Danny Boy. He could also sing House of the Rising Sun. You know what I mean? He could scream and he could sing ballads. He had a beautiful Irish voice, and which also had the roughage of Eric Burdon at the time, or Stevie Winwood, who was brand new with the Spencer Davis Group. Then we went to England in '67. We had a record that made the top 20 in Billboard. It was called His Girl. We were so naive and stupid. We got on a plane with new equipment and new suits. We were 40 grand in the hole.
Oh, man.
We flew to England with no contract. We walked into King Records, owned by Philip Solomon, who also owned the pirate radio stations there. He was the head of the British mobster scene, whatever you want to call them. And he offered us a weekly salary. And he said we would be the next Beatles. So this is 1967. So we're there with Burton Cummings, Jim Cale, me, and Gary Peterson, and the four of us are there. And he offers us a certain amount of money, $400 a week. We're going to be the new Beatles. He's going to send us on tour in Australia and all over the world, everywhere the Beatles went. Okay, great. So is the $400 a week each? No, it's $400 a week for the four of you. Oh. How about record sales? What do we get per record sale? What don't you understand about $400 a week? That's the deal. Take it or leave. You have no contract here. You have no gigs. You can't even pay for your hotel. You've got 4 rooms in a hotel.
Wow.
What are you going to do? I didn't even need to talk to the band. We walked out.
You didn't?
No, we walked out.
A lot of kids wouldn't do that.
We walked out. We had nothing. If you got nothing,
right,
you got to give it all away. Whatever you're going to get, you're going to be giving it away. This guy controlled the pirate radio. He owned the record label. He owned everything.
So what did you do?
I get the band together and I say, okay, we got to get out of our hotel rooms. We've got 4 rooms at the Regent Palace there in Piccadilly Circus. Let's all move into one room. They have a little tiny bed there. Let's push them together. We'll sleep this way on the beds.
Okay.
4 of us can. And you guys go out all night. We stay home all day. We'll sleep at night. You guys sleep during the day. We'll trade this room. And then with your room, you got free breakfast in England, the full breakfast. So we made friends with all the maids. So when they would collect the breakfast tray, you hung a thing on your door, full breakfast, or you just want oatmeal or whatever. For 2 solid weeks, we stayed in one room. We ate bacon sandwiches for 2 solid weeks. So they'd bring us all the bacon. The toast in England is cold anyways. Like the butter doesn't melt on it. It just stayed there like lard. We ate bacon sandwiches for 2 weeks. We hung out there. We went to Mills Music, which published Shakin' All Over. And so we met Tony Hiller there, who was the main president. He said, you guys are a great band. And you're smart enough to walk out on Philip Solomon. Good for you, because he's a crook. He shot at me, shot at everybody else. I'm doing a session a couple of days. You want to come and be the band? I'll give you a chart, just a chord chart. You play the chord. And if you want to sing the demo, great. I've got 2 songwriters, but I can't pay you. But if you bring 2 of your songs, record 4 songs, you can have them all.
Right.
They're just demos for me, but you want to take them back to Canada and say you recorded in England, so you're not a complete failure. So we go in there, they give us 2 songs. This time long ago, Miss Felicity Gray, I write a song overnight called There's No Getting Away From You. And Bert and I don't know what to do. We get Neil Young's song that he had just played for us called Flying on the Ground Is Wrong. We were in the Buffalo Springfield first album. We're the first band to record a Neil Young song other than Springfield or Neil Young. We record Flying on the Ground Is Wrong. We go then home to Winnipeg, broken. No gigs, nothing. But 4 songs that we sent to Quality Records in Toronto. They go, this is great. You sound like the Beatles. You sound like the Fortunes. This song, This Time Long Ago, is a great song. Flying on the Ground is a great song. It's Neil Young, blah, 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 this whole thing. After that, the song came out. We had a big fight with our management. And I said, you guys sent us there with no contract, no guarantees, no money. We're now 40 grand in the hole. We don't know what to do. We've got to break up. I've got to go and sell shoes or get a job as a messenger boy again or start mowing lawns.
Right.
We walk out of this management deal. He tells us to FO. No one's ever told us this. We're like 18, 19 years old. We've not even heard this language. And we get out and I say to the band, well, I can't think of any more guys I'd like to be in a band with than you guys. So now that we've broken up with our manager, let's just see what happens. Let's go back on the circuit. And 2 days later, I get a call from a guy named Larry Brown, who's producing a weekly TV show in Canada called Let's Go. It's on every single day of the week at 5 o'clock. So every kid in Canada is watching this. On Monday, it's from Halifax. The band there is Anne Murray and her band.
Okay.
Then it goes to Ottawa or Montreal. The band there is JB and the Playboys, who become Mash McCann. Goes to Toronto. The host of the Toronto show is Alex Trebek, who's from Jeopardy, right? Alex Trebek.
Sure.
Okay, and the band there is, another hip band. Comes to Winnipeg, it's us. Goes to Calgary, it's the Stampeders. It goes to Vancouver, it's the Chessmen, who become Chilliwack. So this show in 1967, 68 on CBC every single day from a different city. We were on every Thursday. But he says to me, we want you to play the hit parade. And when we know you can play it really good, can you read charts? And I said, of course. Of course we can't. I can't read music. I said to him, who's doing the charts? He said, a guy named Bob McMullen. I said, okay, I know Bob. Bob McMullen doesn't know I'm not supposed to know this because we're supposed to show up Monday and they're going to put charts in front of us and we have to play 4 songs because we're backing up other singers and we're also doing our own song, the rest of the hit parade. We're backing up different singers. And so Bob McMullen says, yeah, I've done Daydream Believer. I've done Solitary Man. I'm doing Last Train to Clarksville and da-da-da. So I say to Burton, we got to get some money. Gather all your drink bottles. Then if you collected Coke bottles, you got 2 cents a bottle. We take down couple hundred bottles. We get enough for $1. We buy two 45s and learn them. So we go in Monday morning and they put the chart in front of us. And we go, da, 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 da. The producer comes out of the room and he goes, you can't read a note, can you? I said, what do you mean? He says, you have the chart upside down.
Oh, hilarious.
I say, okay, you got us. We can't read a note. He said, yeah, but you were exactly what I want. You sound like the record. So if you could just do this, write yourself a chord chart, you can learn it. You've got the gig. We got that gig for 2 years. It went on for 35 weeks a year with repeats in the summer. So suddenly we're in every household in Canada every Thursday, and everybody from Halifax to Victoria knows about the Guess Who in Winnipeg. Burton Cummings becomes an expert singer. I become an expert guitar player because I'm now copying Hendrix and Cream and Glenn Campbell, who's playing all the Beach Boys. So Burton now copies Mick Jagger, Steve Winwood, Ray Charles. We're copying everything, and we're doing it perfectly. That was like the Beatles stopping going on the road and going to Abbey Road every day and recording and recording and recording and recording. So in that period of time, in 2 years,
wild,
we do like 70 shows where we're playing hit songs over and over and over and over. And finally, the producer came and said, if you guys can write your own songs that are good enough to fit in between Ruby Tuesday and Lady Madonna, and I get around, you will put your own songs on the television show. So in the middle of this half-hour show where we're doing the hit parade, we put in a new song. And we put in No Time. We put in These Eyes, songs we're writing. A guy in Toronto who does commercials for Coca-Cola, Jack Richardson, hears These Eyes, calls us up and says, that's a hit song. I'll mortgage my house. I'll take it to New York, to Phil Ramone's studio, A&R Studios, and we'll record an album, write a whole album. So we write a whole album, and on there is These Eyes. And then from that on, it's boom.
That was it. That was the big break. That was the moment that changed your lives.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. Celebrity Jobber.
A two-parter here, Randy. At the height of your success in 1970, #1 single, You Leave the Band. I wanted to know why you left the band. Was it health reasons? Was it what the other guys were getting into that you weren't quite on board with? I wanted to know why you decided to leave, #1. #2, what did you do in the 3 years between when you left the Guess Who and when BTO became something?
Well, the reasons I left, you stated them all. We were all going different directions. We started when we were teenagers. When you start to turn 20, 21, you have different ideas on politics, religion, music, girls, dope, drinking, whatever. All that stuff. But what really with the catalyst was every single night after the gig, I'd have a gallbladder attack. And I didn't know what it was. But you just get this pain right in the middle, like somebody turning a knife in your chest, and you're vomiting blood, both ends. You're sitting on a toilet and throwing up in the bath of blood. And my roadie would take me into the hospital, and they'd say, oh, Clay, we need to keep you overnight. We'll give you some stuff to drink. We'll x-ray your insides and see what's wrong. And my roadie would say, well, we got to drive 200 miles to play Pittsburgh. Then we got to drive to Cleveland. We got to drive to Toledo. We're on the road. We had 5 days off. I said, I got to go home. I went home to my doctor, drank the barium, found out I had 12 or 14 gallstones. That was the pain every time after the gig. You'd have a greasy cheeseburger then or something and a Coke. And then your gallbladder starts up. So he said, you need to have a gallbladder thing, and I'll schedule it for August. I go, what do you mean August? This is April. I need this now. He said, well, unless you're an emergency, you're scheduled for like middle of August. I thought, I can be an emergency. I'll just go and have a Coke and a cheeseburger right now. I said, well, don't do that. I said, look, I've got to go back and play one more gig with this band. And we've hit number one. We're probably going to be taking a break. We've been on the road for months and months. And it's at the Fillmore East. So I've got to play the Fillmore East. So he said, okay, all you can eat is lettuce, saltine crackers with no salt, sugar-free Jell-O, and skim milk. Can you do that? Yeah, I said, I could do that. Talk about a weight loss diet.
Oh, man.
And so I took that. I went and played the Fillmore with the Guess Who. It was my last gig, May of 1970. Came home, waited, had to leave town because suddenly the number one band, I'm the idiot. I leave the band, or I got thrown out, whoever said what. So I go on and I produce a couple of bands because I've had the experience now in England, recording with Tony Hiller, recorded Regent Sound there. I've recorded Phil Ramone at A&R, recorded at Hallmark in Toronto. And I've got this, I don't know, credibility that I know what I'm doing there. And learning from Phil Ramone, I'm telling you, is like probably the best thing in the world that could ever happen to anyone. And I find myself at like 11 o'clock every night wanting to do something. You gear up for your whole gig on stage, which you start at 8 or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and you go on and you have this energy. It's your football game. It's your Friday night football or Monday night football week. And finally, my wife said to me, you got to start another band. Because I was going crazy because all my life I had practiced and recorded and played and practiced and recorded and played. Nobody in Winnipeg will play with me. I'm the loser who quit the band, the number one band in the world.
Wow.
So I go to my three younger brothers who I, taught to play. My brother Robbie played drums on pots and pans with wooden spoons. And those round Ogilvy Quaker Oats porridge, we'd cut those in different things and put them together. Those are his tom-toms. We cut the Bray Belt album with no drums. I had a Boris set of drums for Robbie, who was used to playing pots and pans. And it was Neil Young who came back to Winnipeg. He had left Buffalo Springfield. He didn't know what to do. He just had a solo album coming out. He said to me, just do whatever you want, but don't try to copy the Guess Who. And I didn't. You can't beat Burton's voice. You can't beat the momentum you've got of American Woman. And No Time and all these, you had hit after hit after hit, and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You can't compete with that. So do something different. I said, well, I love the Springfield. I love Poco. I got a pedal steel, a violin, an accordion. I did 2 country rock albums called Brave Belt. Neil got me the deal with Mo Austin and Reprise Records. So I'm down in LA. I'm doing that whole thing. And I do 2 albums for them. I'm into the 3rd album and putting out my own money. They call me back and say, we've hit the bottom line. We can't accept your 3rd album. We're going to have to let you go. And I go, oh, really? And so we don't have a record deal. I got my couple of brothers, and I also got Fred Turner in the band at the time because he's a great vocalist as well. And I've got the 3rd album cut, Brave Belt 3. I send it to 22 labels. This takes me a year and a half. Then you sent out an album on 7.5-inch reels. And I get passed on by everybody. I got beautiful letters of pass from Jack Holtzman, Electra with the butterfly, from A&M, from Herb Alpert with the trumpet in the middle, that the A and the N, the M. And I've got all these wonderful letterheads saying, we passed, you're not right for our band at the time. I'm ready to call it quits and go and sell shoes again.
No.
And, suddenly I get a call. It's from Charlie Fash, F-A-C-H, from Mercury Records in Chicago. And he says, you remember you had a meeting with me last year? I said, yeah. And he said, what I told you about your band Brave Belt is to put your name on it. Nobody knows what Brave Belt means. Put your name Bachman on there. Guys look for a name they recognize. If you've written some hits, you've been in a band, you got to mention that. So I used the name Bachman. Okay. And there's 3 Bachmans and a Turner. He says, okay, call yourself Bachman Turner. So at the time, there's Seals and Crofts and Brewer and Shipley, 2 guys with mandolins and acoustic guitars doing folk music. We call ourselves Bachman Turner, and people are booking us in coffee houses. We're showing up with amplifiers because Fred can now sing like John Fogerty. We're doing Creedence Clearwater, The Stone, The Beatles, and our own original stuff. We're blowing these little coffee cups off the table. When everybody passes, Charlie Fash called me. He says, remember when you had the meeting, I told you when you're sending out your new record, write your name on the front in red Sharpie. Don't use black Sharpie. And I said, Charlie, I've got it right here. This is your Mercury letterhead. You passed on our album in January. He said, oh, that was Bud Scopa. He took over my office for a while I was at Meedem in Cairns. And first the NAMM show, then Meedem, then Cairns. And we got a new budget in February. So I'm back now with my new budget. And I was clearing off my desk. All the tapes that came in are going into the trash. One didn't get into the can. It fell on the floor. It had Bachman on it in red. I'm playing it right now. And in the background I hear, give me your money, please, which is side 1, cut 1. He's put on reel 1. He said, is the whole album like this? Oh, yeah, it's a new kind of heavy pop rock and roll. I'm trying to reinvent myself, going nowhere with 2 country rock albums. Like Poco's gone, Flying Burrito Brothers are gone. It's like a passe thing. The Birds are gone. Flying, Sweetheart the Roadie. It's all over. It's going to heavier stuff. And he said, well, I'm flying to LA on Saturday. I'll play this for my A&R meeting. I want to sign you. We just lost Uriah Heep. I'm taking my chance. I'm signing Rod Stewart, who just left the Faces, and I'm signing you. He calls me Saturday morning and he says, you got a deal. How much you got in the album? I said, I got about 90 grand in the album. I'm paying guys salary so they don't get another day job. I want them to practice every day. And he said, well, I can't give you that, but I can give you a 3-album deal over 5 years. And I'll give you like 75 an album so you can recoup your money from that.
Okay.
And I said, okay, that's a deal. We sign it. It comes out. Nobody plays the album. It's too new. It's too heavy rock. It's like nobody understands what we're doing yet. We get a call from Scott Shannon, who's who's a program director in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, okay. So this is before Tampa. This is before New York. This is in his hometown. This is when he was a young kid.
This is KC Radio with the pig with the headphones, KC Radio. And he says, my name is Scott Shannon. I'm the PD here. We are having a rock and roll weekend where we're going to play The Girl Can't Help It, Rock Her on the Clock, and Hard Day's Night or something like that. And we just lost our band. So instead of drive-in movie theater, everybody will be driving in their cars. They'll have beer, they'll have hot dogs. And we're going to have a stage with bands playing. And when it gets dark, we'll play the rock and roll movie. It's a long weekend. And if you guys will come and play, you've only got 8 songs out. Everybody will know every song. We've got 2 weeks. We're going to play one of your songs in every rotation. I can't pay you any money. I said, forget the money, we'll come. We go to a truck stop in Detroit. Charlie Thatcher said to me, get a new name. I'm not putting Brave Belt on this album. And you can't be called Bachman Turner. It's too much like Seals and Crofts that had Diamond Girl. Remember all those hits they had. And one took over the line with Brewer and Shipley. So we're playing at the truck stop in Detroit. And I say to Fred Turner, look at this, a magazine called Overdrive. Look at the fold out in the middle. It's not a naked chick.
Right.
It's the inside of a guy's truck with leopard skin, and it got a little stereo, and it got a little lunchbox. I said, this is a great name for an album. Fred said, it's a great name for the band. Our music is all Overdrive. So all I have is a napkin. So I write down on the napkin, because napkins are like this, right there in those tall chrome things. I write down Bachman, then Turner, and Overdrive under it. So you can't write it out sideways. It's between the cash register and I'm paying. I call Charlie Thatcher the next morning and say, I got a name for the band. Bachman Turner Overdrive. He goes, wow, that is so strong syllables. It's way too long. I look at the napkin and I go, how about BTO? And he goes,
man,
that's it. Chicago was CTA then. Crosby, Stills, Nash was CS and N. Right. You know what I mean? And REO Speedwagon was just coming out. And the initials were like the ELO, like the big thing. So all this happened synergistically at once. We play for Scott Shannon. And then from there, from St. Louis, we start to get played in New Orleans. We start to get played. The sister stations start to play. It becomes a hit album. We hook up with Don Fox, who runs the warehouse in New Orleans. He has to come down there and play Mardi Gras for a whole week. And we're playing with other brand new bands who no one's heard of, who are the Doobie Brothers, Peter Frampton, ZZ Top, who had only just put out LaGrange.
Right.
And us who got nothing out. We have no single out. And then we came out with Let It Ride after that. And so we're still friends with all these guys. I just got a thing from Patrick Simmons saying, congratulations on your year of rock and roll with Burton Cummings. What are you doing the rest of the year? The rest of the year, September on, I'm with BTO. Right. I'm touring my face off this year. This is my dream. My 2 childhood bands that hit #1 with both bands with album and single. Sold as many records with BTO that I did with Guess Who in half the time. I then had to leave because of the circumstances of things fall apart and things don't hold. The center does not hold. And here I am today.
Wow.
And now I'm back with both bands, with both original guys, touring for the fans. Yeah.
It's incredible. The guesswho.com, by the way, coming somewhere near you. These guys are all, full tour. For my listeners in Detroit, coming to Pine Knob in July. My listeners in New Jersey, there's a few different dates. One in Atlantic City. There's one in Homedale this summer with the Guess Who. Burton Cummings is back. You couldn't ever expect lightning to strike twice, Randy, and it did. And then 50 some odd years later, us Americans are still pronouncing your name wrong and calling you Randy Bachman, but we figured it out. At least I did the last time we chatted. So what an incredible story, and I'm so glad that you're not selling shoes.
Me too.
I think you are too.
Me too.
The guesswho.com on tour with Burton Cummings and of course BTO will continue to tour. You have plans to continue that after?
Yeah, the last Guess Who gig is August the 23rd at the P&E, which is the Pacific National Exhibition in Vancouver. And we played there many times since the late 60s. I mean, it was a big deal from Winnipeg to come play Vancouver because it was the West Coast. Like, we were farm guys, like from Iowa. That's what Winnipeg is like. It's like Minnesota, North Dakota. No, it's going to be a really big deal. Then after that, I'm with the BTO, and we have plans to go to Japan and tour the States all down south. Because in the States, in September and October, all the state fairs are ending. Right. I mean, harvest is later down south. In Canada, we have our Thanksgiving in October. In the States, it's in November, right? Because the whole seasons are later. So we've got a lot of state fairs to play and gigs to play September, October, November in the States as BTO.
Randy, so awesome. Again, you're so gracious with your time. I really do appreciate it. Great luck the rest of the way. Send my best to Burton, and until next time.
All right, thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
I mean, I asked for 20 minutes. The guy gave me over an hour. I can't believe it. And just an incredible storyteller. I mean, what a vivid memory that he has. Father was an eye doctor. Mother was a stay-at-home mom, 4 kids. And, you know, from the time he was just a little kid, he considered himself a musician. I mean, classically trained violinist, considered himself a musician at the age of 5 years old. When I asked Randy about the big break, okay, he tells like a 16-minute story. But he doesn't jump around. It's in a perfect chronology where basically he's playing this hit parade, as they called it, or it's this traveling show. They're playing a lot of different people's songs, and it ends up becoming a television show in Canada. And they say, hey, if you have any of your own songs, we'll put them in between. One of those songs ends up being These Eyes. A guy in Toronto who does commercials for Coca-Cola hears the song These Eyes, calls up Randy, says this is a hit song, mortgages his house, takes them to record an album. Of course, These Eyes is on the album. And that was it. That was the Guess Who. And then, you know, for Randy, lightning strikes twice for this guy. He quits the Guess Who because he's having health problems, and the other guys in the band are all going in different directions in life and politics, smoking dope, whatever. Takes 3 years off, produces some other albums, and then forms another band with his brothers and Fred Turner. The very famous DJ Scott Shannon, early in his career in St. Louis, contacts Randy, says, hey, we had a band back out of a show that we're doing. We'll play your songs on the radio if you can come here and play a concert. So they play the show. The station plays the record. Other stations start playing the record. They change the name from Brave Bell to Bachman Turner Overdrive. And as they say, the rest is history. Randy Bachman has another #1 album with another band. It's just an incredible story. And by the way, his first job was running errands for his father, who was an eye doctor. And then, of course, he tells the story about selling shoes to mostly big farm ladies. But the occasional hot chick would come in with her nice legs, and Randy would remember getting a boner and not being able to go into the back room to get the right size shoe for her. Oh, just awesome, man. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber podcast. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you listen to podcasts, please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating. And of course, if you could please leave a review. You can check out past guests and episodes online at celebrityjobber.com. And don't forget the guesswho.com for tour dates coming near your town this summer. I think Randy Bachman knew he was going to be a musician from the time he was 5 years old. I know. He told us. But he mentioned several times during the interview he needed to make this work because he did not want to go back to selling shoes. That was so great. Randy Bachman from the Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive. And that'll do it for this episode of the Celebrity Jobber podcast. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next week. I'm Jeff Zito.